I feel you, nigga, I already love it when your ass speak the truth to me, oh.
Here's the deal. The Tree of Life version of the Bible is my favorite. Yes, I know there's a lot of versions of the Bible. Most people like the King James version, but once I realized that what King James did in his time, I quickly became anti-King James, and I started reading NIV a lot. I'm sorry, International New English Version or something. That's what NIV stands for. Or the English Standard Version, which seems to be like prominent, or whatever the word is, prevalent. I don't know. ESV is everywhere, basically. And I recently discovered TLV, which is, of course, my favorite, because there's too many reasons, but to name a few, obviously, I want to get familiar with the Torah and everything. You know, it's a very long book, of course. I did read The Power of Kabbalah by Yudah Burgess. I always mention this book. And they talk about the tree, the 10 worlds. It's still somewhat mysterious to me, so I don't want to say too much about what I know little of. But I will say that the tree thing is such a synchronicity, and it just speaks a lot to me. And so that was like the main reason for like me starting to read. Is it just has all the right wording in it. Obviously, we all know Judaism. Christianity came from Judaism. If I want to know a certain name and I want to Google it, I know the Tree of Life version is going to have the name, the exact spelling, and everything that I need so that I can find all the accurate information. And I don't know what to call it. It's like the parallels, seem to line up very easily with this version. So if I have a question about something, I know that I can look it up in this version, and it's BibleGateway.com has the option where it will list literally every chapter of everything that mentions that word. That's super useful to me with the Tree of Life version, right? So I can give an example, but I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying. And apart from that, when I had my, awakening epiphany thing, when I saw, it was insane to me, because I remember asking for an answer to a question, right? And then I felt like this was the absolute answer when because I was literally taken to a place where I felt completely weightless. And I remember writing, I don't know, I guess you can call them songs. I was just writing a lot of things that came out of me at this time. And this was 2016, by the way. And I remember, or 2017, it must have been 2017 at this time, because it was after this whole thing happened. But my point is, I was looking for an answer to, I kept feeling like giving up, and I kept feeling like God had given up on me and us, my family. And I was really angry at the world, and I wanted to understand. I wanted to give God a chance, basically, to show me. Literally, I remember the words I remember saying, "Show me that not everyone is a piece of shit."
What'd you do today, my fine feathered friend? Sit on the front benches of your chair. Better for your posture. I read that in the paper.
Come on, Jack. Hit me. Hit me. Hit me. Come on. Come on.
Did you actually buy this from Mr. Ledbetter? Don't explain, just nod, yes or no.
Come here, son. Left. What are you doing?
For the next half hour, will you not speak unless you have something important to say?
Be quiet.
What did you say? Get back. Come here.
You undermine everything I do.
And the way that God answered me was very interesting, because the years that followed, I met a lot of very interesting people, and I'll get into all that later. But I want to stay focused on the Tree of Life version right now, and just say, I had this epiphany, right? And I spoke about it before, but I want to go into more detail about it. I had this, I don't know if epiphany is the right word, but I feel like I time traveled, because I was awake, so I can't really call it a dream, and I can't really call it a vision because I don't feel like I was seeing the future. Like, my mind was not transported in that sense. It was like I was literally felt like I was transported to a different place. Like, what I assume it would feel like if aliens abducted me. Seriously, this is how. And the reason I say this was because I was very conscious this whole time. I was very aware of my surroundings. I was very aware of the time and the place that it actually was in my life, in this life that I'm living now. I was driving, like I said, right? But at the same time, I was experiencing something within this timeless time frame, and that's why I say it must have been a place where there was no time, therefore, kind of like in a dream, when you're in a dream, you kind of like forget about this reality, and you have memories that tie you to, like, for example, in your dream, you can be like, why are my nails blue? Like, I just painted them red yesterday. But you won't remember everything about your waking life, right? So it's kind of like a dream. Your consciousness within a dream is sort of obscure in the way that it isn't so much linear as it is cyclical, right? You have these memories, but you can't really control which ones and what and why and where and how and whatever. And so that's how this time loop thing felt. Not time loop, this timelessness. And I remember not being able to compare it to a dream because I don't know how to say this. I feel like I'm not as conscious in a dream, apart from the fact that not even in my waking life am I ever this aware of myself and everything around me. And that's why I say I can't compare it to any other experience I've ever had. It's so fucking beautiful. I can't, wow. Every time I talk about it, I just, I'm at a loss of words. There's no way I can explain it. It's perfect. It's absolutely fucking perfect. Anyway, so what I had wanted to say was that in this experience, I remember seeing a tree, and that's all that I would see. Like, I could see miles upon miles of just this beautiful blue sky, of course, and the atmosphere around it, but there was nothing else around. And so I could feel my attention being just drawn to this tree, right? And I remember everything around just being a blur because my focus immediately was on this tree, and it was so what is the word? It was just I couldn't draw my attention away from it. Almost as if I wasn't in control. Something was definitely referring me straight to this tree, right? And the leaves of it, the way that it moved, it was sort of dancing. I don't know what other word to describe it other than dancing, but it wasn't as I think of it now, I'm thinking yeah, maybe I would just describe it as the wind blowing through a tree, because I have no other words to describe it now, right? But in that moment in time, I remember thinking that was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life, and it was so fucking perfect, the way that the wind hit those leaves. And I could feel this same wind on my face, right? And it was all around me, and it was so perfect that I relate everything to that tree now. I relate everything that falls in line perfectly, everything that is cyclical, everything that is perfect in its form and a whole in itself, which, as we know, they use the word shalom. Hebrews use the word shalom to describe this type of feeling, which translates as whole or perfect. I relate the symbolism of a tree and life and everything that is perfect. I relate it to, this is why I relate everything that has to do with trees with wholeness and perfection. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree,
Yeah. Already. You say you're mine, I was yours already. 22, had the Bentley for